Teardrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzels with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girl in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
What a joyful way to start the morning, Yaron.
Thank you.
And what was it you have on your lashes in the song? The lyrics are, you have what on your lashes?
I
You don't remember.
have snowflakes.
Snowflakes. Well, I know that that's not true coming from the land of sunny Southern California, but good morning.
But it is true that CS is one of my favorite things on Sunday morning.
Well, you're one of our favorite things. So, good morning and happy to be here, and I know you are. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, and I am the spiritual leader for the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. It is December 20th in the year 2020, and thank you for being here, and what an honor it is that we get to spend this time together in this technological setting as we just come together and get to know each other in the sense of spirituality and speak to truth and continue to awaken ourselves to our own spiritual magnificence. It's a real honor and pleasure to have you here today, whether you're joining us through Zoom or Facebook, and I invite you to just settle in and enjoy our time together this morning. I'm going to start our slideshow to begin this morning, and you will see me up in the upper left-hand corner. And so a good morning to everyone. And as you see from the animated lady on the screen, as she says good morning to all of us, that's what we, on behalf of the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, say to each of you. She's allowing herself to feel that energy of the divine that we are each imbued with as we open it up. And she's in the act of namaste, which is the Sanskrit meaning of the act is the divine, the power, the light, the source in me honors the light, the power, the divine, the source in each and every one of you. So I invite us to take a moment and to do that, to just get settled into our space and to do that. As a community that's been coming together for over 30 years here in the land of Los Angeles, it's important for us to be inclusive and honor all aspects of life. We affirm each Sunday morning that we welcome all races, all religions, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, all genders, all abilities, for we stand with you. We want you to know that you are safe and respected and revered and loved, just as you are right here, right now. And as our beloved founder, Dr. David Walker, used to say each and every Sunday morning, and I invite you to say that along with me, we welcome one and we welcome all. So who are we? We are a community, once again known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. We teach the aspect and the concept of metaphysics, primarily the teachings of the science of mind. To distill the science of mind down into a brief synopsis, it's the philosophy and faith and way of life that there's only one activity in life ever taking place. It's a divine activity. It's also known as Source or God, and that we live in a universe whereby it exists infinitely, and we individualize that power, and then we get to experience that power and express that power through our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, and our interactions in life itself. Because we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law, we get to experience in life the totality of what's taking place in our consciousness and the consciousness of life. And so we practice being attentive to those actions in life. We practice knowing that the light is within us. Our objective is to practice just as the namaste that we did before, not only honoring the light and the divine within ourselves, but within each and every individual. Ultimately, doing our best to fulfill the vision statement for this community and all aspects of life, which is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. And so today I invite you to take a moment and ask yourself if you're ready to have a spiritual awakening in a new way and ultimately providing greater personal self-empowerment in your life. And so now is the time to do that. Before we move on into our morning, which is a ritual called Calling in the Light, I'd like to welcome to the screen our musician for today, Ray Davis. We're so excited to have him with us today as we have a great morning planned for you. I'm going to stop the share just a second so you can see Ray's beautiful face. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, Rev?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very happy to be
Wonderful.
here.
Good. So we're so excited to have you here with us today. It's been a long time since we've seen you. I know that you are here to share in your high vibe music this morning. And so you'll get to tell us a little bit about that later on once we get started.
Yes, indeed. Be happy to.
Good.
Can't
Well,
wait.
can't wait to have you do it. And I know you've got a beautiful holiday song for us planned as well. So looking forward to that. So see you then. Also, I'd like to take a moment and just introduce you to our guest this morning, who I will be participating with in the ongoing conversations with Dr. Keith, the one and only Reverend Dr. David Ault from Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Dr. Reverend David Ault.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Keith. It's so great to be here. Thanks.
It's so good to have you here, and you're beloved not only by our community but by me. And I know that we have a long, rich history, and I'm looking forward to sharing this time together this morning.
Beautiful.
All
Thanks.
right, so we'll see you in a bit. So we will begin this morning now with our ritual. I'll bring our screen back up. As we enter into this service this morning, the service before the holiday that we all know as Christmas, I'd like to invite us to open ourselves, as I asked for earlier, in a newer way to becoming aware of the spiritual nature of life that exists within us. The morning ritual called Calling in the Light. And today we celebrate the ability to call in the light. We celebrate this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence. It's which we call spirit. The purpose of this ritual this morning is to draw into our gathering a conscious awareness of our oneness and a remembrance that the light of the divine exists in and as all sentient beings. This morning, I would like to read for our ritual a letter that was written by Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the teachings of the science of mind. And it's a letter that he wrote and is read every year, certainly by me and many others, titled Christmas is for Remembrance. The love manifesting through our gifts to each other typifies the offering of life, the givingness of spirit to its creation. The hands of the eternal are outstretched through our hands, and the heart of the infinite beats in the human breast. But the giver must give of himself, for the gift without the giver is bare. It is not then in lavish gifts that we find true giving, but in the sweet simplicity of remembrance, in the kindly thought, the tolerant mind, and the gentle act. Love alone can give love. Sympathy alone can sympathize. And only goodness can really do or be good. The one who gives for reward does not give at all. He seeks to bargain, to trade for spiritual gifts. Hence, he senses loss on his own giving and finds no completion through the act. But he who gives half his meat to the hungry feels justified and is warmed by a real sense of comradeship. He has established an actual unity between himself and other offspring of creation. Great causes succeed when there is a giving of humanity. With the check must come the one who wrote it, his interest, enthusiasm, and love. The check must be a symbol of their desire to impart themselves. Then shall it multiply their benefits and do good. Charity is cold, but love is warm. When heart speaks to heart, a divine conversation has taken place, a heavenly discourse. For each of us has something to give. Let each see that he gives of his best. If we are bringing out gifts to the altar of love, nothing less than the best will be acceptable. Nothing less than all is enough. May the real spirit of Christmas, the giving of self to life, enter and abide in you now and through all time. As Yaron prepares to take us through the next phase of our ritual of the song Calling in the Light, let's remember together, may the real spirit of Christmas, the giving of self to life, enter and abide in you now and through all time. If you'd like to sing along with the song, the lyrics will be on the screen.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light, oh love. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light, oh love. I am love, I am peace in my heart, I am free, I am spirit, I am soul, all together we are whole, and calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light, oh love. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
May the real spirit of Christmas, the giving of self to life, enter and abide in each of us now and through all time. And so it is. You've had the pleasure of meeting Ray Davis just a moment ago on screen, and I'd like to welcome him back now as he prepares to present to us his first song. And Ray, would you tell us a little bit about high vibe music and what that means to you, please?
I'd be happy to. High vibe music is the name of a genre of music and art, and it's my personal choice to introduce it to the world. High vibe music celebrates the best in life and the best in all of us and all people. And it celebrates our ability to provide something good to this world. It celebrates the light that is within and reminds us of our true origin, who and what we really are.
Fabulous. And the song that you're going to sing for us now is?
This is a song of devotion called My One.
Great. Thank you.
From the fading light of the evening to the growing glow of the day, I'm perfectly held in your hands, my one. And as the sun ascends to its glory, and in beauty gives its rays, I stay surrounded. For in you I live and move, have my being. Do I love you, my one? I do. There is none to love but you. There is nothing that can undo my love for you, my one. If I feel afraid for my future, or believe that no one really cares, still I'm perfectly held in your hands, my one. So whether I ascend in bright ecstasy or fall in dark despair, I'm there, surrounded. For there's nowhere where your love can't find me. Do I love you, my one? I do. There is none to love but you. There is nothing that can undo my love for you, my one, my one. Baruch atah Adonai, my one. Blessed are you, O living one, my one. There is nothing else to love from below to above, my one. Here all of creation is none to love but you. There is nothing that can undo my love for you, my love. My one, my one, my one.
Ray, that was beyond beautiful. The lyrics are not only very potent, but clearly you were living them as you sang them. And so it continues for us that calling into the light. It's really the lyrics and the presentation, your delivery through your gift was just amazing and awesome. And it symbolizes and you embody the light itself. So thank you for sharing that with us and setting the tone here. What a joy and a gift. And people are heralding you in the chat window. So please read that. So thank you. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you later in the service. So it's my joy this morning to continue with the conversations with Dr. Keith. I think we've now done 7 or 8 of them, something like that. And this morning, my guest is the one and only David Ault. David has a long, rich bio of so many things he's done in life. He's changed the world through music. He's run a center in Mobile, Alabama. He's done that as well as in Atlanta, Georgia, a large one there called the Spiritual Living Center for Atlanta, which is another center for spiritual living. He's a teacher, an author, a writer, a motivational speaker. But one of the things that he's done that touches my heart so deeply, and I know it has touched the hearts of countless people in the world, is he has a program called Kaleidoscope Child Foundation. I'd love to have him just give us a brief synopsis. And I'd like to welcome to the screen my brother, the one and only Reverend Dr. David Ault.
Hello.
Hello.
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It has. It's been a minute since we've hung, and it's also been a minute each and every day of life right now. So,
And every time that I am with you, I am reminded of the ease of true friendship, because
yeah.
no matter how much time goes, it's like the moment that connection is made, it picks up right where it ended off, and
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I love the
Thank you.
effortlessness of that.
Me too. Well, you'll appreciate this. The room where you slept on the what was it, the inflatable bed in my house is the room I'm sitting in right now. So
I was recognizing that bookshelf.
exactly, exactly. So I look forward to you sharing a little bit with us. I know it'll come up in conversation. The Kaleidoscope Child Foundation. I hope I have the name of that correct. But
You do.
I want to kick off this morning. Our theme for the month of December is living in the light. And I want to hear your take on that, because I know you've been on quite a journey of late.
Well, I think one of the opportunities with just determining what light means to us individually and collectively is the consideration that it's never absent. And so part of the fun of being in human form and in this curriculum is the illusion that it is. So we're often given the opportunity to strengthen that knowing. I used to say the light is not at the end of the tunnel. The light is wherever you are. And if we keep thinking that it is somewhere off in the distance, then we are perpetually postponing the experience of that. So it's built into this crazy journey in human form, is remembering that, not acquiring it, not learning it, but unlearning all of the things that have prevented us from knowing that.
So true. So true. I love that analogy of it's not at the end of the tunnel. And it's what a fascinating, and you bring that up is so fascinating, because in our teaching, when we teach that everything has power and energy, in the sense that words do, statements do,
Hmm.
things that have been said over the years, the meaning to that individually, the meaning to that in groups, the meaning to that consciousness, to just take a moment and breathe in what freaking power, whether good or bad, that statement has in our consciousness, right? That the light is at
Hmm.
the end of the tunnel, which obviously means it's external, but
Right.
it's something that we're ultimately then been chasing, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
I have to give this philosophy a lot of credit because one of the key things that it has done is deepened an appreciation for the power of word.
yes.
And but more than just my human understanding of word or affirmation, but really the energy of word, because it isn't, as I'm sure we can attest to, it isn't even about the word itself, it's the energy of that word. And so what was the what was the origin of word? What does this mystery of word mean, other than in our Western world we're familiar with the scripture that in the beginning was the word and the word was God. So that energy of God, the word, the best that we can come up with is our ability to articulate it as consciously as possible. So I'm as guilty as anyone of of unconsciously using the word, of defaulting to something familiar. And so this teaching has helped me kind of pivot back and pivot back and pivot back and go, hold sacred to language.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. And also, one of the things that's a reminder to me is, and the congregants will probably laugh when I say that, is that how often there's great power in using less in words, right? Using less
Yeah.
words. Easier said than done, as I just said that. Speaking of words, easier said than done, right? But the thing in that I keep thinking of right now in regards to light is the two planets that are going to line up tomorrow night that haven't, which is called the Christmas star, and I think it's Jupiter, and I don't know the other. But right now in LA, you can go out and see stars in the sky, which is so rare. And I'm
Hmm.
looking forward tomorrow night to see those two line up, which haven't in, I believe, 800 years,
Wow.
and will be another 80 years or something before they do. Um, but in being able to look into the external and see the energy of light, which is the same energy of light that took place when the Jesus baby was born, right?
Hmm.
Um, to realize that the light that is external that I see is made of the same energy field that gives me life so that I can experience and express light is very grounding for me because it helps me move beyond just the theoretical aspect of yes, when I call in the light, it's within me. Yeah, that's holy and that's wonderful and it's beautiful and it's spiritual and om namaste, right? So which is all good stuff, and I do it and I teach us to do it, but to also have this connection of the balance, of the
Yeah.
infiniteness of it all. So I love that. So I'm going to move us to our next quote. um, you cannot fight against, this is Eckhart Tolle, you cannot fight against the ego and win, just as you cannot fight against darkness. The light of consciousness is all that is necessary. You are that light.
Yeah, what we resist persists. So a
Yeah.
fighting, the energy of fighting is an energy of resistance. It's an energy of trying to change the isness of the perfect patterning, which in and of itself is insanity.
Right.
Uh, I look at the Christmas story as the universal story. It's not the exception of a Christ child. It is an example of illumination, light, this light that is your beautiful theme, this light that comes into awareness regardless of a lot of obstacle.
Yeah.
So regardless of the societal stigma that Mary might face, regardless of the journeying, regardless of the appearance of no room in the inn, regardless of a King Herod the Great who issues a massacre of innocents. When you look at all of those things from an allegorical standpoint, what I love about allegory is we are all of those things.
Right.
We are both the light that imminently comes through the darkness, but we are also all of the obstacles behaviorally and consciously. We're all Mary, and we're all King Herod, and we're all the baby Jesus, and so it's a matter of not the resistance or the pushing away that Eckhart Tolle indicates, but it's how much am I willing to let the light that is be.
I love that, and I view that very similarly, and I view it in the sense of we are all of those things, and the darkness is a necessity. It's part of the balance, right? If you
Yeah.
look at the yin and yang symbol,
Right.
it's there, and it's important for us. I'll speak for myself to embrace that while understanding that as I evolve in consciousness, to not become a darkness junkie so that I go through the darkness so that I can then have the light, right? So I don't get to just have
Yeah.
that
Oh,
reward.
I love that.
But
Yeah.
right, because God knows I've been that before. It's like, woo, drama queen, right? So, and then to ride out the results of healing what has taken place from being a drama queen, right? So, but to try to bring it down into a more more simple balancing act of
Right.
light and darkness, right? And not only appreciating it, but being able to hold that, look at it, be accountable for it, right? And still understand that it for me to move into a higher framework, to have an experience that is qualitatively better, then I have to tend to my consciousness, right? I have to step into that evolutionary process. Um,
Yeah, the Christmas story then is like it's the actual story of the birth of conscientious disruption.
yeah,
It's a disruption of the darkness. And so the darkness is necessary. That all of the darkness that we experience is a part of the perpetual rhythmic dark light. And so what that the conscientious disruption is very similar to 2020.
ooh,
2020 is conscientious disruption, and yet how many of us, I'm sure you are experiencing this, how many people say to me, when this is over, I can't, when I get to go back to, and I'm like, there is no going back
correct.
to. What this is doing, it's a conscientious disruption, and so my participation in it is either allowing it or resisting it and trying to revert back or preserve something that was. And so that then veils the gift. And I get that it's easier said than done, and I get that all of our customs and all of our rituals and all of our familiarity has been disrupted, and that's very disconcerting. So allow ourselves the darkness of that. And like you were saying so perfectly, is but don't stay there.
Right.
Feel it, and then go, okay, what does this conscientious disrupt? Conscientious means meticulous. What does this meticulous disruption have for me? But if I'm not willing to do that, if I stay in the darkness, then I just want the darkness to go away.
Right. I was counseling the other day with someone, and we were talking about an argument they were having with someone, and they were like, "Well, we have to get through this." And I said, "Well, my suggestion is to have the argument, get it done, resolve the issue, but don't write a lease with the person, right? Don't enter into a long-term agreement in your mind regarding this issue. Address it. If it has to be addressed through darkness, bring light to it, heal it, and then move on, right?" And I think that when we look at 2020, we want that to be a one and done deal,
Right.
right? As opposed to understanding it's not. It's like forgiveness, right? For us to heal what is going on right now. Ernest tells us healing is revealing. It's an ongoing process of looking at, well, what's rubbing me right now, right? What am I afraid of? What do I want to happen? And then be ready to go through that again the next day and the next
Mm-hmm.
day and the next day, because that's the journey. That's the journey of finding personal self empowerment through a spiritual awakening, right?
Right. very much so.
And also the reminder that I deal with a lot, and I'll say deal with it, is this next quote, because I believe that it's one of those things that's, if we were to use traditional language, we're speaking of language, right? Both the blessing and the curse is to understand, as Rumi tells us, that what you seek is seeking you, which obviously we know that. But then the flip side of that, which was one of the biggest spiritual awakenings I ever had in my life, in the Atlanta Church of Religious Science through the Reverend Joyce Reynolds, the motivator of one or a
Ah,
thousand.
yes.
This would have been in like 1986, something like that.
Yeah.
Was that, okay, if what I'm seek is seeking me, that means then what I'm experiencing, I'm also the consciousness that has attracted that in my life, right? So it's understanding the
Yeah.
the light and the
That's
darkness of both.
that's so good. That is so good.
I remember the congregation heard me talk about this recently. I was at that seminar with her, and I think it was 86, 87, something like that. And she shared that, and I was like, ah. And I was with my friend Bruce, and I was like, oh my God. And he's like, would you please sit still and be quiet? And I was like, I have this huge aha. He goes, what is it? And I'm like, and she was talking about, if you want to be the friend or lover, you have to become. I'm like, well, if that is true, I have to become. Then that's saying, then the that which I'm experiencing, I'm that conscious. And he goes, yes, honey, it is. And I got up and ran out of the room and said, I have to change that. That's the first time that I set up an appointment with a practitioner, Reverend Karen Wolfson. Was like,
Wow.
I have to change my consciousness. You know.
You know, God, that's so great because we're coming up on, and I don't know if your center does this or not, but the white stone ceremony.
We don't.
So, well, at the beginning of the year, there's a ritual that a lot of New Thought churches do with the white stone. The white stone is taken from the fact that, like in Roman biblical culture, um, if you carried a white stone, it was almost like an identification, like a
Uh-huh.
driver's license, which meant that you were free. If you were imprisoned, because lots of people were tossed back and forth in that circumstance, then they took the stone away from you. So the only way that you could prove that you were qualified to be liberated or free on the streets of this society was to have that white stone. So one of the ways that that has been incorporated over the years is you pick a word, you come
Uh-huh.
up with the word, the power of the word. You write it on the white stone, and then you use that stone all year long to remind yourself of the power of that word and that you are free. You are not imprisoned from that quality. So that's all fine and good, and one of those great participatory things that we do. But to your point, I was reflecting on quote failures of this year. And I think that that's valuable. I think to reflect upon them in order to appreciate them and to thank them for the lesson is very healthy. So I was reflecting on failures of this conscientious disrupting year. And I noticed a theme, and the theme was obligation.
Mhm.
And that my experience of being at the end of obligation was not anyone else's responsibility. It was still the unhealed stuff within me of feeling as though I had to be obligated,
Mhm.
that I wasn't worthy enough to create or promote participation, but obligation. And just, I mean, that's basic science of mind, but again, when you sit still enough, those old things can come up. When I'm willing to turn towards the failures, perceived failures of this year and go, ouch, that hurt, and to realize it wasn't on the other person, it was my still beckoning ability to dive deeper into holding onto an energy of being something that needed to be obligated even after all these years. So my word that goes on my white stone is participation,
Mhm.
and I must participate in my life at the level that I want other people to participate in.
I love this, and this harkens back to the conversation you and I had a couple of weeks ago about. I'm going to frame it a little differently. That in 20th century metaphysics, that we were taught that it wasn't necessary to tend to how beliefs got put into your subconscious. It was important to basically override those beliefs and overpower them by putting in others. In other words, putting stuff into, here's the vessel. You just keep putting more in, right? And so then this part is higher and filled more than what's in below. The problem is the
Right.
stuff at the below is still there, right? So in 21st century metaphysics, we've learned that it's important to find out why those beliefs are there. What scenario or situation or event took place that caused those? That's the conversation you and I have had. And
Hmm.
if we have the opportunity or the gift to work to the degree of getting into our subconscious mind and digging that stuff up, there's great value there, right? Because that's when the opportunity then presents itself to not override it. Spiritual bypass is the term that we hear oftentimes, but to really
Right.
go in there and start creating new belief systems. If we can rid those negative belief systems so that we aren't just constantly fixing them, but literally altering the trajectory,
Yeah.
right, of life and the way that we show up in that. That takes me to the next quote, which I know that you're going to have great things to say about. I just know you are intuitively. I found it this morning. I'm like, this is a David quote. It's from Albert Einstein. Learning is experience. Everything else is just information.
Absolutely. To learning, from that perspective, I think could be intertwined with wisdom. Wisdom is cultivated by walking into the arena, not by sitting and putting your nose in a book. Um, if I had behaved that way, then all of the pain, but yet all of the joy, the paradox of those two things, would have been missed. I think who's that? Napoleon Hill. I think he said, "Don't wait. The timing will never be just right."
Uh-huh.
I loved that because I have been called and or termed all kinds of things, over the years, impetuous and this kind of stuff. But there's, my reasonings for making decisions or leaning into things that perhaps were uncomfortable were not done recklessly. It was trying to adhere to the intuitive nudge, the pull, the vision pull, that because the pain was pushing. And um, and a lot of times that's a disruption for people who kind of are more structured from the intellect. And I think that wisdom comes from willingly leaning in. Experience comes from walking in and being willing to mess up in front of people, to live out loud. Do you know, have you ever followed James Rouse, Dr. James Rouse in Colorado? He's appears a lot in the magazine. I heard him at a convention one time say that people don't want to hear a sermon; they want to see one.
Mm-hmm.
And man, did that electrify me, because I thought that's what I want to do. I want to live out loud so that I'm not trying to create a facade, but that I'm being a template of willingness.
Well, and you've done that, so as someone who loves you, I feel like I can say that. And that was, I know you weren't soliciting that, but you've done that. You did that. You've done that through your ministry in the traditional sense of ministry. I mean, hell, you went to where in Alabama were you? Um,
Mobile.
Mobile. That's what I thought, right? And you're in.
Everyone in Mobile, it's a wonderful place.
It is. I'm not disparaging Mobile. I'm just, but you went and did that. That's one thing, right? But the work that you've done in Cambodia has been um, really um, impactful in a way that isn't really spoken about a lot. But the thing that I love about the work that you've done is that you've gone and started this project that from scratch and have devoted your life to that.
Mhm.
And you're changing the trajectory of lives of people immeasurably. That's just a fact, right? That's just a fact. And all of that's fantastic, but having done some similar work, people don't understand what it's like to literally go into the arena you speak of to
Right.
do the work. You've done that. But you also did it the same way in dealing with your heart surgery this year, right? Um, so I share that in that those are two examples in your life of how you are living your sermon. And
Mm.
so I just want to honor you for that. A,
Thank you.
B, you're welcome. And B, I want you to know that I know that there's a calling for that. Um, and C, I know there's more to come. And D, do you want to speak about any of that?
Well, yeah. First of all, you, I give you credit because there were several cups of coffee and several cocktails. One in particular, I remember at the Abbey, where you were already involved in the construction of schools in Malawi. And I was still in the infancy stage of my work in Cambodia, and I was running into a lot of roadblocks. And one of the things that you shared, you probably don't remember this, was um, that you said, be wary of the fact that when money flows into territories that have been multi-generationally impoverished, that the likelihood of the people that you are entrusting will be swayed by that. Because I was coming from a very painful alliance in the beginning of having trusted someone, and um, what you did was is you just set me up to become more and more mindful with the way in which I engage in impoverished territories. And so through the years, not only did we develop a couple of campuses in Cambodia, but now we're in India, in the slums of India, and we're creating programs to provide particularly the girls in the slums in these rural areas that have no sustainability with the education. What do you do with that? Working with girls in slave trade in Guatemala. So the work has exploded, and it has ripped my heart apart, my emotional heart apart. It's one of those things that once you see firsthand certain situations, like I'm sure you did in Africa, you can't unsee it.
Right.
And I I am so grateful for failing and getting back up again, and failing and getting back up again, because it made me a better minister. It made our teaching more relevant, humanely, more emotionally intelligent, in a way that it needed to be more about how do you live it rather than intellectually
Oh,
throwing dogma or philosophy. And so, and there's a way to do it. Everything has paradox, so when Ernest would say, or turn away from the condition, yeah, just like you were saying, don't dwell on the drama, and
right.
we must befriend the condition.
Yeah.
We must be okay with the condition. We must be curious about the condition to go, I wonder why the same thing keeps triggering me. I wonder why the same circumstance, the same fear keeps cyclically coming back around again for me. If I can, instead of burying it like you were talking about, become curious about it and lean into the condition, then yeah, I am not turning to it helplessly. I am turning to it in order to reclaim my power.
Right. I love that because I agree with you. And one of the things that I've learned is to be able, and I'm not saying I do this all the time, I've just learned, I know the wisdom of it, is that when I get into the muck and mur of confronting situations, I'm thinking of one in particular right now, where it's it's not fun when I'm in it. I don't like the energy that comes out of me, but if I can step far enough back, which I did recently, and said, okay, what's triggering me here? What is really triggering me here? And then I've learned over the years how to keep asking myself questions till the answer comes up. And it's like, oh, well, duh, that's what it is, right? Like, oh my God, this person represents my twin sister. That's what this is about, right?
Right,
That's what
right,
this
right,
is all about, right? So
right.
like, okay, but also be able to now do that and not judge myself. Like, okay, well, now that all makes sense, right? Behaviorally, wasn't pretty, didn't show
Mm-hmm.
your best side, right? But Okay, so I'm not going to judge that, forgive myself for that. And look at that. Now I know that when that energy is triggered again, this is where this is coming from. Right? That's what this is all about. And the
Yeah.
truth is, it could all, because it's my twin sister, could probably be traced all the way back to the womb. But for certain, it can be traced back to first shared birthday parties, where cake was involved. We'll just let it go with that, right? um,
Yeah.
but where, the question
It,
is,
mhm.
as you're saying, like where else in life does that show up, right? So,
Right. And so the word trigger is funny too, because I had this awareness a couple of years ago, when sitting with Ernest Holmes' definition of the cosmology of what we're a part, and he
I'm
called
sorry to
it
interrupt you. I thought you were going to say sitting with Ernest Holmes, period. And I was like, oh, well, tell me about that now.
sitting with Ernest Holmes' cosmology, about the universe as a perfect patterning, because that's really the hiccup for most people.
Yeah,
They love the idea of it, but it's a personal affront because it's like it's being interpreted as diluting their situation, their life, discounting them. And I said, no, not at all. You can't. We are invited to stop trying to give a singular dimensional answer to our multidimensional experience.
touche.
So when Ernest Holmes says we live in a perfect patterning, he's not talking about this one single plane of existence. He's talking about the quantum, the multidimensionality, right? And so if we can understand that, then words like trigger, I go, what does a trigger mean to me? Well, it's something wounding. It's picking at an old thing. And I said, I wonder what another word could be if I was going to consider the Ernest Holmes perfect patterning. And what came to me was signal, that the things that I'm defining as a trigger, which are, most of the time I want to find some way to medicate away from it. If I looked at it as the universe loves me so much that it keeps sending me signals, and that everything that I am quote quote triggered by is just a signal, uh, for that loving perfect patterning to say, hey, hey, just want you to use your power to pivot the thought away from the thing that is the worst case scenario
Uh-huh.
to its polarity. It's just an exercise. And so I started to do that with worry. So people, those of us who worry, I said, what if we take that one concept of worry? Because worry is one of those things that we're said, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't
Yeah.
do that. But instead of shooting on it, go, okay, worry is a gift. And every time I worry about something, it's the universe signaling
Uh-huh.
that an animal is here. It's the
That was a
universe
signal.
signaling
Sweetie,
to
Sweetie
us.
opened the door. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's the universe signaling to stop focusing on that direction and now experiment with the time that it did work.
Yeah.
And what if we did that every single time we worried? So yeah,
Yeah.
there's just so much out there to continue to lean into.
Oh, absolutely. David, we're going to use one last quote because it's time for us to wrap it up because I know you and I could go on for hours doing this.
This is fun.
It is fun. It is fun.
Thank you.
I'd love to keep going for another hour too. Um, the because it's Christmas next week, and obviously
Yeah.
we're all experiencing Christmas differently than we did last year. And the truth
Mm-hmm.
is, last year we experienced it differently than we did before that, because that's the nature of life, right?
Right.
So in many ways, the only thing that's new and different is that it's new and different, right? Um,
Right. Right.
this quote is from Dr. Seuss. Christmas will always be as long as we stand. Christmas will always be as long as we stand heart to heart and hand in hand.
Mm. So if Christmas means what? The 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 uncovering, the perpetual uncovering of the light, the birth of the light, then that light will always be. Every single time I'm willing to see the light in every situation, and every time I'm willing to bring the light into every situation. And that doesn't have to be Pollyanna, it doesn't have to be, bumper sticker wisdom. It could be a clarion call for the soul.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I my take on it is that it's telling us that clarion call of the soul, um, that in this time when we have been given such a great opportunity to be alone,
Mm-hmm.
that this particular Christmas, to lean into the remembrances of standing heart to heart, hand to hand physically in the past, and to let that energy be the foundation of how we experience this holiday, and to then use that energy and put it back out, from a healing perspective of that interconnectedness that we have, and let that this day, the 25th of December, which has such significance to all of us, be a time that we ground ourselves and imagine what it would be like if we stood hand to hand, heart to heart around the world and bathed this universe, this world in love so that healing can begin, and do it in gratitude for all of those that have been on the front line, those that have lost their lives, and remember that we don't have to live at the effect of all of this. So,
Gorgeous because um, never underestimate the power of the interior world of thought,
I love
and
that.
the interior devotion of that hand to hand, heart to heart that isn't confined by the physical experience. I mean, one of the things that has really grown for me this year is behind me. It's my puja table, my
Uh-huh.
altar, and it changes a lot. The pictures have saints and sages that mean a lot to me, but it also has people that have just, you know, chapped my ass, as we say, because part of the work has been to love them as well. It isn't hand in hand, heart to heart to those we like, and to that's easy. But I've used this to really try to bring meaning to that.
Yeah.
To go, it's not about them. It's about whatever is within me that I still haven't reconciled. And so maybe this year, when we can't be physically with people, we can energize that ceremony, that inward ceremony, and actually bring some integrity to that.
Well, and I think that the way to bring that forward so that we can be in um, physical connection to do that is to begin to visualize it in that interior world. To understand that this oneness that Ernest speaks of, that we live
Right.
as, whether we're conscious of it or not, exists. And if and to tap into that. I love you, my brother.
Oh gosh, I love you too. Thank you. It's
Thank
so
you.
good to see you.
So good to
Yay.
see you too. So good to see you. I'm
All
so
right.
proud of you. So happy that you're healthy and doing your work. And just thank you for the time together.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
So Merry Christmas to you as well. I'll bring you back to do a prayer at the
Okay.
end of this. So
Sounds good.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ray Davis, I know that you have a very festive musical selection for us next. So bring you on.
I do, I do.
What are you going to share with us now?
This is one of my all-time favorite holiday songs, and I'm presenting it today as an opportunity for all of us to settle into the light and the joy and the beauty that this season affords us the opportunity to focus on, a kind of grounding. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy presenting it. This is the Christmas song.
while wandering amongst.
I love it. That was fantastic, Ray. Thank you.
You're
What a
welcome.
beautiful, fun rendition. Thank you for bringing your unique style today, and just a joy to have you here with us at CSL-LA. Thank you. Your radiant smile. So may you have a festive, and very Merry Christmas.
And to you and to all of CSL-LA as well. Happy holidays.
Absolutely. Look forward to having you with us more in 2021, buddy.
Yay.
Definitely good. So, as I shared earlier in the beginning of our morning, we have a fantastic morning planned for you. I hope that you have experienced that in the way that it's been presented to you. Now is the time that we can come together and support our organization known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles through conscious giving. This year, it's been a unique experience for all of us, and as a community, that's been the same as well. And so I want you to know that all that you contribute and donate to us is deeply appreciated and honored and celebrated. We put every dime and dollar to very good use, not only as a small business doing our part in making a difference in the world, but to make a difference in the world. So I'm going to put on the screen the methods for conscious giving. And as I do that, Yaron will take us through our methods. I'll share with you first before he does that, the methods of giving. You can go to our website, csl-la.org, and click on donate, or go to the app in the App Store, which is filled with all kinds of wonderful resources. That's Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. It'll guide you through by clicking on the upper left bars and click on the donate tab. You can mail a check to us at our home location at CSL-LA, 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, California, 90038, or my phone number's on the screen if you'd like to take care of that personally. Please feel free to do so. As we take a moment and find the method that's best for us to give and support this ministry, Yaron will take us through our conscious giving song called Love is My Decision.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And one side to side to change my mind. Source will show me how. Love is my decision, yeah. My decision right here, right now.
And so I affirm for each of us today that love indeed is our decision. Love, defined as the self-givingness of spirit whose desire to create more of itself, does so in the only way it can, which is out of itself. And so in so doing, its nature is also of abundance and prosperity. And so as we give, we step into that field of abundance and not only give with an open hand and an open heart and an open mind, but with deep faith that the law of the universe is always doing its part. And so that which we give goes out into the universe and returns to us multiplied abundantly. All is well. And we say together, and so it is. Well, thank you all for participating in a wonderful morning at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. Happy holidays to all of you if you're joining us through Facebook and or Zoom, or taking us in at a later date through our YouTube channel. Please know that you're honored and loved and celebrated and appreciated. In that vein, we had a wonderful holiday concert on Friday night. A big thank you to all of you who attended those online, as well as our fantastic lineup of musicians who brought their A game for a really fun experience of celebrating the holiday cheer. We'll have that in some form of a recorded format for you at a later date that will be announced as to the best method to promote that. A huge thank you to David Ault this morning for bringing his light and life to us and sharing that with us so that we all find a way of learning who we are as a divine being in a new way and taking in from hearing his light and wisdom and experiences and commit to growing in a new way. A huge thank you to Ray Davis for bringing his talent and his heart and his being to us today, as well as his musical skills. A thank you to Yaron Spiwak for our music director of working so hard and also bringing your light to us. And a big thank you to Travis Smith, who, as I said the other night, works so diligently behind the scenes in keeping our audio technology alive and well and helping us provide the best possible presentation that we can here, as well as a big thank you to Robert Hensley, our administrative assistant and social media expert, who's working in the background as well, promoting everything that we're doing, keeping me in alignment, as well as our outreach through technology, as well as facilitating our links to Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you to those of you. If you'd like to know more about us, you can find us online at CSL-LA.org. That is our website, as well as you can follow us in the app. Follow us on the app by downloading the app in the App Store, as well as please follow us on social media through Instagram and Facebook. All of that information can be found on our website at csl-la.org, as well as you can sign up for our weekly e-newsletter that goes out. Happy holidays to all of you. A big thank you for being here once again today. I trust to know that your holidays will be filled with love, and let's remember the spirit of Christmas is within. I'm going to invite David back to take us out with a meditation and or a prayer. Following that, I'll come back and say goodbye to those of you on Facebook. Dr. D?
Hello, everyone. Just very quickly, very easily and joyously, I invite you to close your eyes, take a deeper breath than you are accustomed to, just to make yourself aware of the power of directed breath, that you have that power. And it is in this awareness of that power of direction that we commit our thought, our activity, our word, and our deed in this season of light to be the example of the Christmas story, to be the example of illumination in darkness, to be and to welcome the conscientious disruption that wants to come and sweep clean all thought, all limitation, all old stale ideas in order that something new may be born. We realize that that begins with us. And it is in this moment now, it is in this season that we make a vow, a sacred vow, to let it go deeper, to let it be more profound, more integrous, and more meaningful than perhaps it's ever been before. We have the power to do that. We commit to that. We say yes to being the story of Christmas in living form. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Dr. David Ault. Have a blessed